Hey everyone, this is Taehyung. Before we begin, I want you to take a deep breath and listen carefully. What I'm about to share isn't a scripted announcement, not a teaser, not something planned by a company. This is me, Kim Taehyung, speaking to you from the most personal part of my heart. For years, you've known me through the stage lights, the melodies, the laughter, and the smiles that I've shown. But today, I want to take you behind all that to the quiet moments that shaped who I am and to a truth I've been holding on to for a long time. People always see the perfection, the suits, the choreography, the flawless photos, but rarely do they see the silence after the music fades. The moments when even the brightest lights can't reach your heart. For me, love was always something I admired from afar, like a painting you're scared to touch because you might ruin it. I thought I knew what love was, but I didn't. Not until recently. And what's coming on my wedding day is something I could have never predicted. You see, for a long time, I used to think I wasn't made for marriage. The life I live is unpredictable. The eyes that follow me, the pressure to always appear perfect, it can make you forget how to just be human. I would watch people fall in love, get married, start families, and I'd wonder if that kind of ordinary happiness was something I could ever have. I convinced myself that maybe love wasn't meant for people like me, but life, as it always does, surprised me. There came a moment small, quiet, but powerful that changed everything. I was walking alone one evening, the city lights reflecting on the river, and I felt something shift inside me. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't cinematic, it was peace. And that peace whispered something to me. You're ready, ready to love. Not as an idol, but as a man. Ready to open my heart even if it means showing its cracks. I realized that marriage isn't about perfection. It's about choosing someone again and again, even on the days when you feel broken. And that's the part I want to reveal to you tonight, that on my wedding day, something shocking won't come from the media or a headline or a rumor. It'll come from me. Because I'm not marrying for image, I'm not marrying for a story, I'm marrying for truth. You might ask, Taehyung, what does that mean? It means that I've learned to love in a way that doesn't fit the image people built around me. It's not glamorous, it's not always beautiful, but it's real. The person I'll marry isn't a secret from the world, she's a secret kept safe within me. Someone who has seen me when I wasn't smiling, who has held me when I couldn't hold myself together. The shocking part isn't who she is. The shocking part is that I finally allowed myself to be loved like that. When I told the members about it, there was silence first. Not because they were surprised, but because they understood. They've seen the loneliness that comes with our kind of life. They know what it's like to be surrounded by thousands, yet feel completely alone at night. They smiled, they hugged me, and one of them said something that still echoes in my heart. You deserve to be happy too, Taehyung. The truth is, for years I was scared to tell you, scared that love might make me lose the connection I have with all of you. But I've realized something. Real love doesn't replace love, it expands it. My love for you, for ARMY, for music, for art, it doesn't shrink because I've found someone. It grows because love teaches you to see the world differently. When I imagine my wedding day, I don't imagine luxury or perfection. I imagine warmth, I imagine laughter, a few tears, maybe even some off-key singing. I imagine my parents smiling, the members standing by me, teasing me like they always do. But most of all, I imagine looking at her and feeling that calm again, the same calm I felt by the river that night. Marriage, to me, is not the end of freedom. It's the discovery of a deeper kind of freedom, one where you don't have to perform anymore, one where you can be fully yourself. I used to think love meant excitement and fireworks. Now I know it also means quiet mornings, late night talks, and holding someone's hand without needing words. But here's the part that might shock you. On my wedding day, I won't just be promising her forever, I'll also be promising you something. I'll promise that love will never take me away from music or from you. I'll promise that the same heart that sings for her will still sing for you, because every song I've ever written came from the same place, love. Whether it's for family, friends, fans, or the person I'll spend my life with, it all comes from the same source. And maybe the reason I can finally walk toward that day with peace is because of you. Because you've seen every version of me, the boy who dreamed, the man who struggled, the artist who found purpose. You've held me through every chapter, and now you'll witness the one where I finally learn what love truly means. Sometimes I think about the little things that led me here, the nights I couldn't sleep, the letters I never sent, the songs that healed me. It all makes sense now. All the pain, all the waiting, all the questions, they were preparing me for something I couldn't understand before. Love. Real love. So when that day comes, when I walk down the aisle, when the cameras flash, when the world starts to talk, I want you to remember this moment. Remember that behind the headlines and the spectacle, there's just me, Taehyung, standing there, holding someone's hand and silently saying thank you. Thank you for staying with me long enough to see me grow into the man I've become. Because the truth is, love isn't a performance. It's not perfect, it's raw, it's messy, it's human. And maybe that's the most shocking thing of all, that even someone who has lived under the spotlight his whole life can still find something so simple, so ordinary, and yet so extraordinary. Love that feels like home. There's something almost sacred about the stillness before dawn. It's that moment when the world hasn't yet opened its eyes and everything feels honest. Lately, I've found myself awake at that hour more often, not because of stress or schedules, but because my mind wanders toward what's ahead. I imagine waking up one day, not in a hotel room or on a tour bus, but beside someone who feels like home. That thought used to scare me. Now it gives me peace. People ask me what kind of husband I'll be, and I never really know how to answer. Maybe I won't be the perfect one, but I'll be present. I've spent my whole life learning how to perform, how to make every gesture intentional, every smile controlled. But marriage isn't about control, it's about surrender. It's about choosing to show someone the unedited version of yourself and trusting that they'll still love you when the lights go out. I've seen the way love changes people. I've seen my friends soften when they talk about their families, the way their eyes glow when they mention someone waiting for them at home. I used to envy that the simplicity of having someone who's yours, not because of fame or status, but because your hearts recognize each other. I think that's what I want most. Not a fairy tale, not perfection, just recognition. There's something deeply grounding about love that doesn't demand you to be extraordinary. For so long, I thought love meant impressing someone, showing them the best parts of me. But the person who will stand beside me on that day, she never asked for perfection. She wanted honesty. And maybe that's why she's the one. Because when I'm with her, I don't feel like an idol. I feel like a man, imperfect, emotional, still learning, but trying his best. I've always believed that music has the power to heal, but love has the power to transform. It teaches you to listen differently, not just with your ears, but with your heart. It teaches you that silence can speak volumes, that a simple look can carry more meaning than 1,000 words. Sometimes we search the world for inspiration only to realize that it's been sitting quietly beside us the whole time. I remember one night I was writing lyrics alone in my studio. The melody felt unfinished, like it was missing something real. I kept replaying the chords, searching for that missing emotion. Then, out of nowhere, I got a message from her, just a simple, "Are you okay?" No big words, no advice, just concern. That was it. And suddenly I found it, the emotion I'd been missing. That song will never be released. It's ours. And maybe that's the beauty of love. Not everything has to be shared with the world to be meaningful. Some things are meant to stay private, sacred, untouched by the noise outside. I think about my parents often. The way my father would quietly fix something around the house without saying a word, or how my mother would cook my favorite dish even when I didn't ask. That's love too silent, consistent, and unconditional. I used to think grand gestures were what define love, but now I realize it's the small things, the morning coffee, the inside jokes, the quiet prayers when the other person isn't watching. Those are the moments that build a life. And maybe that's what I'll be most grateful for on my wedding day. Not the ceremony, not the photos, but the realization that I made it through the chaos and still found something pure. You know, life as an artist can sometimes blur reality. You forget what's real and what's performance. But she never let me forget who I was before all this. She calls me Taehyung, not V. She talks to me like I'm just a guy who gets shy when someone stares too long or laughs too loud when I'm nervous. She sees the boy who once dreamed under the Daegu sky, not the man standing under stadium lights. That's why I call her my calm, my reminder that even the biggest stars still need somewhere to rest. There's something I haven't told anyone yet, something that might surprise you. On my wedding day, before the ceremony begins, I plan to sing. Not a song for the world, a song for her. It won't be recorded, it won't be filmed, and no one outside that moment will ever hear it. It'll just be my voice, her eyes, and the truth between us. I want to start our life together with honesty, raw and unfiltered. Because the most shocking thing isn't that I'm getting married, it's that after all these years, after all the masks and stages, I've found a place where I don't need to perform anymore. I've also thought a lot about family, about being a father one day. I know it won't be easy. I know there will be nights when I'm tired, when I'll miss shows because of birthdays, or skip interviews because of school plays. But that's the kind of sacrifice I look forward to. I want my children to know love not as a fairy tale, but as something steady and safe. I want to teach them that kindness isn't weakness, that silence can be strength, that vulnerability is not something to hide, but to embrace. Sometimes I wonder what they'll think of me. Will they see me as an artist or just their dad who can't cook but tries anyway? I hope they see both because I want them to know that it's okay to chase dreams and still come home to love. And to you, the ones who've been with me through every laugh, every tear, every note, I need you to know this. You are part of this story too. Because without you, I wouldn't have learned what love truly means. Every time you've cheered for me, every time you've written a message saying, "You've helped me," you are teaching me something I didn't even realize I needed to learn. You taught me how to love openly, fearlessly. So when the world sees me smiling on that day, dressed in something elegant, holding someone's hand, I hope you'll see yourselves in that moment too. Because the love I give her is built from the love you've given me. Maybe that's the real shock. Not the wedding, not the news, but the realization that love, when shared, doesn't divide, it multiplies. There's a strange silence that comes after applause, the kind that feels too heavy to fill with words. I felt it countless times after every concert, every encore, every bow beneath blinding lights. And every time I've told myself that silence was peace. But I realize now it was loneliness. The kind of loneliness that hides behind cheers, the kind that fame can't fix. When you live your life being seen by millions, you start to forget how it feels to be seen by one. Not the kind of seeing that comes from cameras, but the kind that comes from connection. Someone who looks at you and doesn't see a performance, but a person. That's what I found, and that's what changed everything. For so long, I thought love had to be perfect, spotless, polished, the same way we prepare for stages or photo shoots. But love doesn't need filters. It needs patience. It needs forgiveness. It needs the courage to show the parts of yourself that never make it to the screen. There are moments I've looked in the mirror and barely recognized the person staring back. Too many versions of me exist. V the artist, V the performer, Kim Taehyung the man. Somewhere in between, I lost the line that separated them. And then she came along, not to fix me, but to remind me who I was before the world decided who I should be. It's easy to be confident under spotlights. It's harder to be vulnerable in the dark. And yet, that's where I found real strength, not in perfection, but in truth. I've spent years learning how to command attention. Now I'm learning how to listen. I'm learning that real connection doesn't come from being admired, but from being understood. Marriage will test that. I know it will. It's not a stage I can rehearse for, not a scene I can edit later. It's real. It's messy. And that's what makes it beautiful. I'm preparing myself not for a flawless love, but for an honest one. Because honesty is the only thing that survives when everything else fades. I can already imagine the challenges, the jealousy, the distance, the noise that comes from living in a world where every move becomes a headline. I know there will be days when my wife feels the weight of my name, when she'll have to share her husband with the world. I've thought deeply about that, and it breaks me sometimes, the idea that loving me will never be easy. But I also know that love worth keeping is never easy. When those storms come, and they will, I've promised myself one thing. I won't protect my image. I'll protect her heart. I won't hide behind silence when honesty is what's needed. Fame taught me to guard myself, but love teaches me to open up. I won't run from discomfort. I'll face it with her. Because trust isn't built in promises. It's built in the moments we choose not to give up. There will be nights when I'm in another country performing under bright lights while she's home alone. I've lived that distance before, the ache of missing, the quiet emptiness that fills hotel rooms. But this time it will mean something different because every mile between us will remind me of what's waiting at home. Distance will no longer be emptiness. It will be proof of purpose, proof that even in separation, love can still breathe. And when we argue, because I'll remind myself that being right doesn't matter more than being kind, that sometimes silence isn't strength, it's a wall. I'll try to break that wall every time it appears. I've seen relationships collapse not from anger, but from neglect, from forgetting to speak when it mattered most. I refuse to let that happen. If it takes staying up all night to find the right words, I'll do it. Maybe it's strange to hear me talk like this about marriage, about being a husband, but the truth is, I've been thinking about it for years. Every heartbreak, every mistake, every lonely night was a teacher. And each one taught me something that fame never could, that love is not about winning, it's about staying. Fame magnifies everything, the praise and the pressure. There's always noise, always opinions. People will celebrate, criticize, speculate. They always have. But what they don't see are the quiet moments behind closed doors, the late night laughter, the prayers whispered under soft lights, the way two people hold hands just to say, "We are still here." That's the part I want to protect. That's the part I'll keep sacred. I used to fear losing myself in love, that I'd somehow fade into the background of someone else's story. But now I realize the right love doesn't erase you, it reveals you. It makes you braver, softer, more real. And when I stand there on my wedding day, looking into her eyes, I know I'll be looking at the only person who truly sees me, not the version the world built, but the man I've always been underneath. There's one thing I haven't shared before, something deeply personal. When I was younger, I prayed for a love that would last. Not one that burns fast and fades, but one that grows quietly, like roots beneath the earth. I didn't know then that I'd have to go through so many storms to find it. But I think that's the point. The storms teach you how to hold on. And that's what I'll promise on that day, not a life free of storms, but a love that holds through every one of them. I'll promise to choose her when it's hard, to listen when it's inconvenient, to stay when it would be easier to walk away. That's the kind of love I want to practice, not the kind that looks perfect, but the kind that survives. To me, that's the real meaning of love. Not the fairy tale, not the perfection, but the practice, the daily choice to show up again and again, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it hurts. That's how I want to love, that's what I want to build. Maybe that's the shocking part, that behind every image you see of me, every polished moment, there's a man who just wants something real. Not applause, not perfection, just peace. Because love at its core isn't about performing, it's about coming home. When I close my eyes and think about the future, I don't see stadiums, I don't see flashing lights or loud cheers. I see something much quieter, a small home filled with warmth, the faint sound of music playing in the background, and laughter echoing down the hallway. That's the life I want. Not to escape fame, but to finally live beyond it. There was a time I thought my purpose ended when the curtain fell. That once the lights went out, so did I. But now, I see that the truest parts of life begin after the curtain closes. The moments that don't make it into headlines: breakfast together on a lazy Sunday, falling asleep to the sound of rain, waking up to someone's smile instead of an alarm. That's the kind of eternity I want to build. Sometimes I imagine being a father holding a tiny hand, hearing the word Appa for the first time. It's strange how the thought alone can soften the sharpest edges inside me. Maybe it's because for so long I've been the one being cared for by my members, my family, the fans who've carried me through every storm, and now I want to give that care back. I want to protect something not because it's expected of me, but because it's sacred. I think about the kind of father I want to be. Not perfect, just present. The kind who doesn't measure love by how much he provides, but by how much he shows up. I want to teach my children that kindness isn't weakness, that vulnerability isn't shame, that dreams aren't meant to impress others, they're meant to fulfill your soul. And when they ask me about my past, about BTS, about the stages, the music, the noise, I'll tell them this: there was a beautiful chapter, but the greatest song I ever wrote wasn't performed on stage. It was the life I built after. Maybe that's why this upcoming wedding means so much more than just an event. It's a beginning, a quiet revolution in my own story. For years, I've lived for applause, and I'm grateful for it. But now I want to live for whispers, the soft kind that say, "You're home." Of course, I know fame doesn't just disappear. The world won't stop watching. Every smile, every step, every ring on my finger will be discussed, dissected, debated. That's part of my life now. But I'm learning to make peace with it, to draw a line between what belongs to the world and what belongs to me. Because not everything should be shared. Some moments are too precious to post. Some words are meant to stay between two hearts, not 2 million screens. I've learned that privacy isn't secrecy, it's protection. It's love's quiet armor. There are nights when I imagine her sitting next to me, both of us older, with time written gently on our faces. Maybe we're sitting by the window, the city lights below us, holding hands in silence. We don't need to talk much. Just knowing we made it through chaos, through distance, through everything will be enough. And if I ever get the chance to grow old with her, I'll make sure she never forgets how she changed me, how her love pulled me back to the ground when fame made me float too high, how her laughter became the sound I waited for after every concert, how her presence became the calm after every storm. That's what I want my legacy to be. Not just the music, not the awards, not the spotlight, but the way I loved. Because love is the one song that doesn't fade when the show ends. It's the encore that keeps playing quietly in the background of every life you touch. Sometimes I wonder what my fans will think when they see me take this step. Some will cheer, some will cry, some will find it hard to accept, and that's okay. Because love, like art, isn't meant to please everyone, it's meant to be real. And I've always promised to live honestly, even when it's difficult. To ARMY, you've been with me since I was a boy, with dreams too big for my own hands. You saw me fall, rise, change, and become the man I am now. I hope you'll see this next chapter not as an ending, but as proof that love can exist even in the brightest spotlight, that I can still be Taehyung the artist, while being Taehyung the husband, and someday Taehyung the father. Fame gave me everything I thought I wanted, but love gave me everything I didn't know I needed. And maybe that's what growing up really means, realizing that the loudest applause can't compare to the quiet peace of coming home to someone who truly knows you. So, when that day comes, when I walk down that aisle, when I take her hand, when I promise forever, I won't be thinking about the cameras or the headlines. I'll be thinking about the long road that led me there, about the boy who once stood on stage dreaming of everything, and the man who finally realized that everything was simply love. And maybe one day, when the world forgets the name V, I hope they'll still remember Kim Taehyung, the man who loved deeply, quietly, and truthfully. The man who believed that no matter how bright the lights, love should always shine brighter. Because in the end, every song fades, every spotlight dims, and every applause stops. But love, real love, keeps echoing long after the music ends. That's the life I want. That's the home I'll build. As the days draw closer, I can feel the rhythm of life slowing down, yet my heart beats faster with every sunrise. Each morning feels heavier with meaning, as if time itself is bowing before something sacred that's about to happen. The wedding isn't just a date on a calendar. It's a threshold, the line between the life I've lived and the one I'm about to begin. When I wake up now, sunlight falls differently through the curtains. The air feels warmer, the silence deeper. Even the simple things, my morning coffee, my walks, the quiet moments in the studio feel charged with emotion. I find myself thinking, is this the last morning I'll live as just Taehyung? Not V, not an artist under the lights, but simply me before I step into forever with someone who chose to love the man behind all of it. I've never been good at pretending everything's easy. My heart carries a lot joy, fear, excitement, nostalgia, gratitude all at once. And maybe that's what makes this moment so human. Because no matter how many cameras will capture that day, no matter how many words will be written about it, the truth is, it's something I'll experience in silence from the inside out. There's a song I wrote long ago that no one has heard. It's called Promise of the Sky. It was born one night when I couldn't sleep, thinking about destiny, whether we create it or it creates us. I remember writing, if love is written in the stars, then let the sky fall just to reach you. Maybe back then I didn't understand what those words meant, but now I do. When I met her, it didn't feel like fate at first. It felt ordinary, a conversation, a glance, a moment that came and went. But the way she made me feel wasn't ordinary at all. She didn't care about the fame or the image. She cared about the quiet me, the one who sits on the floor to play guitar, who hums songs to himself while cooking, who sometimes stares at nothing for too long because he's lost in thought. That kind of love doesn't explode. It unfolds. Slowly, gently, it grows like dawn, soft, inevitable, and real. Now that the wedding day is near, I can't help but think of destiny again, not as something written for me, but as something I wrote myself. Every time I chose her over fear, over fame, over doubt. Maybe that's what destiny really is, the sum of all the choices made in love. There's something I've been keeping in my heart, something I want to share with ARMY with you, who have carried me for so long. You've seen me through every transformation, every heartbreak, every victory. You've seen my smiles on stage and my silence off it. And though this moment may feel distant to you, please know that you're a part of it too. Because without you, I wouldn't have had the courage to love this deeply. You taught me that vulnerability isn't weakness, that emotions aren't something to hide. You showed me that even when the world watches, it's okay to just be human. That's why, before the ceremony, before the music starts and the world turns its gaze on me again, I want to say thank you. Not just as Taehyung the artist, but as Taehyung the man. Thank you for letting me grow, for letting me love, and for letting me dream of a life beyond fame. I know some of you might wonder how I feel, if I'm nervous, if I'm ready. The truth, I am both. I'm terrified and at peace all at once. Because love, real love, has a way of holding both things together. It's the kind of fear that feels like freedom. I've rehearsed 1,000 performances, memorized every lyric, every step, every breath, but this moment has no script, and maybe that's what makes it so beautiful. I don't need to perform. I just need to be present. The night before the wedding, I'll probably be alone for a while, maybe sitting by the piano, letting my fingers play whatever my heart feels. No cameras, no microphones, no stage, just me, the sound of the keys, and the echo of everything I've lived through to reach this point. I'll think about the boys, the brothers who've been with me through every era. I'll think about our laughter, our chaos, our bond that time could never break. They'll be there at the ceremony, not as idols, but as family. And when I look at them, I'll remember the younger version of me who thought he'd never find balance between art and love. I'll smile at that boy and whisper, "You made it." And then I'll think about her, the person who saw that boy, loved that man, and believed in a version of me I didn't even know existed. I'll remember her words, her laughter, her silence. I'll remember the way she makes the world slow down just by being in it. When I walk down that aisle, I won't be walking alone. I'll be walking with every version of myself, the dreamer, the performer, the son, the friend, the artist, and the man who finally chose to live truthfully. Because this isn't just a wedding, it's the moment my life turns a new page. The beginning of something that fame could never define, a love story that exists beyond headlines, beyond applause, beyond time. And when the vows are spoken, when the world holds its breath, I'll look into her eyes and see everything I've ever been searching for. The peace after years of noise, the calm after storms, the home I didn't know I was missing. So, yes, something shocking will happen on my wedding day. Not because of scandal or surprise, but because of what it symbolizes, a man who's lived under the brightest lights, finally choosing to step into something even brighter, a love that's real. And maybe that's what life has been trying to tell me all along, that no matter how far you go, how much you achieve, or how loud the world becomes, the greatest success is finding someone who reminds you who you are when the music stops. When the ceremony ends and the crowd fades away, I'll take her hand, whisper, "Let's go home," and we'll walk into a life that's not perfect but honest, not a fairy tale but a promise. And that's what will truly shock the world. Not that Taehyung is getting married, but that he found a love that makes him more human than ever. The morning of the wedding feels like something out of a dream, not because it's grand, but because it's real. I wake up before the sun rises. The city is still asleep, wrapped in silence. For a few minutes, I just sit by the window, watching the pale light spill across the horizon. There's something sacred about this hour, like the world knows something special is about to happen. My reflection stares back at me in the glass. For a second, I don't see V. I don't see the artist who spent half his life on stage. I see Kim Taehyung, the man behind every song, every smile, every story. The one who cried in silence, who laughed until his stomach hurt, who loved quietly, deeply, endlessly. And today, that man is getting married. I breathe in slowly. The air feels heavier, filled with a sweetness I can't quite explain. My hands tremble a little, not from fear, but from the weight of everything this day means. For years, I've performed before thousands. But this time, there's no stage, no choreography, just truth. The ceremony takes place in a garden surrounded by tall trees and soft golden light. It's simple, intimate, timeless, the kind of beauty that doesn't scream for attention. Flowers line the path where I'll walk, their scent floating through the air like a quiet song. The sky is clear, painted in soft blues and white clouds, almost as if the universe itself wanted to be gentle today. My friends are there, the boys, my brothers dressed in muted suits, trying not to cry but failing miserably. Their smiles are full of pride, nostalgia, and love. I can see it in their eyes. They remember every version of me, the boy from Daegu, the trainee, the dreamer, the idol, and now the man standing here ready to promise forever. And then I see her. The world stops, literally. The sound of birds, the whisper of wind, even the rush of my heartbeat, everything fades when she appears. She walks down the aisle, light shimmering around her, every step measured and graceful. She looks at me, and in her eyes, I see everything I've been searching for. It's not just love, it's peace. When she finally reaches me, I can barely breathe. My throat tightens as if the universe itself is holding its breath too. I take her hands warm, soft, trembling like mine, and I whisper, "You're here." She smiles, and in that moment, I know I've arrived home. The officiant speaks, but I barely hear the words. My focus is on her, the way her lips quiver as she tries not to cry, the way her fingers tighten around mine as if she's afraid to let go. Every second feels infinite. Then it's time for our vows. I take a deep breath, the kind that carries years of unspoken words. My voice shakes at first, but steadies as I speak. I used to think my purpose was to sing for the world, I say softly, but now I know it was to sing my way to you. Every song, every lyric, every melody, they were all leading me here, to this moment, to this love. She laughs through her tears, and it feels like sunlight breaking through clouds. I can promise a perfect life. I continue, but I promise a truthful one. I'll protect your heart like it's my own, and I'll love you not for who you are to the world, but for who you are when the world is quiet. You're my peace, my reason, my forever. When she reads her vows, I can't hold back the tears anymore. Her words are simple, but they pierce straight through my soul. You once said you wanted to find a love that feels like coming home, she whispers. So here I am, your home, your heart, your future. The guests sniffle. I can hear muffled sobs, laughter, whispers of awe. Even the wind seems to soften, as if listening. And then the moment comes, you may now kiss the bride. The world explodes into stillness. Again, a silence so profound it feels holy. I lean in slowly, gently, and when our lips meet, it's not fireworks or music or applause, it's peace, pure, endless peace. For the first time in a long time, I'm not performing, I'm living. The crowd cheers, the cameras flash, petals fall like rain, but all I see is her. All I feel is this heartbeat that finally found its rhythm. After the ceremony, we step away for a moment, away from the noise, the lights, the world. We stand under a tree, just the two of us, holding hands in silence. She looks up at me and says, "You did it." And I laugh because she's right. After all these years, all the storms, all the chaos, I did it. I found peace. Later, during the small reception, I take the microphone, not as V, not as a celebrity, but as a man. I've sung thousands of songs. I say, voice trembling. But today, my heart wrote one more. It's called Forever Starts Here. The crowd goes quiet, and then I sing softly, sincerely, just for her. No backing track, no production, just my voice and a promise. She cries as I sing, and when I finish, she whispers, "You kept your word." That's when I realize something powerful. Love isn't about grand gestures or perfect timing. It's about showing up again and again, even when the world watches, even when it's hard. As the night falls, the garden glows with warm lights. The stars begin to appear one by one like blessings from above. We dance under the sky, no choreography, no script. Just laughter, hands intertwined, eyes locked. And for the first time in my life, I don't feel like I'm part of a story. I am the story. That's the shocking thing that happened on my wedding day. Not the fame, not the spectacle, not the headlines, but the truth. That love, real and quiet and raw, still exists even for someone who spent a lifetime in the spotlight. As the night fades, I whisper to her, "Let's go home." And with that, we leave the lights behind, walking toward a future that doesn't need an audience to be beautiful. Because for Taehyung, the boy who once sang for the world, the greatest song has finally begun, and this time it's for one person only. The morning after the wedding feels nothing like I expected. There are no spotlights, no noise, no cameras, just sunlight spilling through half-open curtains, the faint sound of the city waking up somewhere far below, and her breathing beside me steady, calm, real. For a moment, I just lie there, eyes closed, memorizing the sound of peace. Everything feels different now. The same world, the same sky, the same heartbeat, but softer somehow, lighter, like the universe took a deep breath and exhaled through me. The ring on my finger glints faintly in the morning light, and I find myself smiling without realizing it. It's not just a symbol, it's a reminder that for the first time in my life, I'm not walking alone. I think about the last few years, the noise, the chaos, the endless schedules. Fame can make you forget what silence sounds like. It teaches you how to perform every emotion, but not always how to feel them. But now, as I sit here with a cup of coffee and her laughter echoing from the kitchen, I finally understand what it means to be Not as an artist, not as a product, but as a man who's simply happy. We spend the day doing nothing and everything at once, cooking together, dancing in the living room, laughing about how I almost burned the toast. She teases me about how clumsy I am when I'm not rehearsing. And I realize these tiny, unfiltered moments are worth more than any award I've ever received. Later, I step outside for a walk. The air is crisp, carrying the scent of rain and new beginnings. A few people recognize me, smile, and whisper. I nod politely, grateful but distant. Because for once, I don't want to belong to everyone. I just want to belong to her. In moments like these, I think about ARMY. I know the world is still talking headlines everywhere, reactions flooding the internet. Some celebrate, some question, some cry. I understand. Change is hard, even for me. But love, real love, doesn't erase who I was, it deepens who I am. So, to everyone who's ever supported me, who's grown up with me, I want to say this from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for allowing me to grow into this man, for letting me live, not just as Taehyung the artist, but as Taehyung the human being. When I think about everything we've been through, the music, the tours, the laughter, the tears, I realize how extraordinary it is that you've loved me through every season. And now, I hope you walk with me through this one too. Because love isn't the end of my story, it's the beginning of a new chapter we can all learn from. I used to write songs about longing, about distance, dreams, heartbreak. Now, when I write, it's different. The melodies feel warmer, the words come slower, gentler, because love has changed how I see the world. Every lyric feels like a photograph of gratitude, of healing, of stillness. Sometimes I sit in the studio late at night, headphones on, no one else around, the lights are low, and I start humming. It's strange how love transforms sound, how every note carries a little more truth. I don't think music ever leaves you. It just grows with you, learns to breathe differently. I'll still sing for ARMY. I'll still make music, still perform, still give everything I have. But from now on, the man standing under those lights will be someone more complete. Someone who's learned that the stage is only one part of life, not the whole thing. You know, I used to chase perfection. Every note, every move, every smile, rehearsed, refined, repeated. But perfection is just a mask for fear. Love taught me that imperfection is what makes something real. The cracks, the pauses, the trembling voice, that's where the soul lives. Now, I don't want to be perfect anymore. I just want to be honest, to live truthfully, to love deeply, to create art that feels alive. Sometimes at night, when the world is quiet, I look at her sleeping beside me and whisper a silent thank you, not just to her, but to life itself. Because I finally understand what all the songs, all the stories, all the poetry were trying to say. Love isn't about finding someone perfect. It's about finding someone who makes you want to be better, softer, truer. The messages from fans still pour in. Some write long letters saying they cried watching the ceremony. Others say they're proud that they feel like they watched me grow up. Those words mean more than I can express. Because that's what this journey has always been. Not just mine, but ours. I remember something I said during an interview once. I want to live a life that feels like art. At the time, I thought art meant beauty. Now I know it means truth. And truth is messy, vulnerable, sometimes painful, but always worth it. This marriage, this love, It's not an escape from fame. It's a return to myself, to the boy who used to dream under the stars, wondering if he'd ever be truly seen. Now, I don't need to wonder anymore. I've been seen by her, by my brothers, by my fans, by the universe itself. Before I go to sleep, I step onto the balcony. The night is still, the city lights twinkle like scattered dreams. I think about everything I've lost, everything I've gained, and everything that still lies ahead. The air feels different tonight, lighter, like it's carrying a promise. And I realize love doesn't end when the ceremony does. It's a decision you make every single day to stay, to listen, to try again, to forgive, to grow. So, to the world watching, yes, something shocking happened on my wedding day. Not because of fame or mystery or drama, but because I finally learned what it means to be alive. The boy who once sang to millions has learned to whisper to one. And maybe that's the most beautiful transformation of all. Because when the lights fade, when the music stops, when the crowds go home, the greatest encore isn't applause. It's love. Quiet, steady, eternal love. And as the night wraps around me, I smile to myself not as Taehyung, the idol, not as V, but as a man who finally found where his heart belongs. Home. When I think about that day, there's this calm that settles over me, like the stillness before sunrise. Maybe it's because I already know what's coming, or maybe it's because I've made peace with it. For years, I lived my life surrounded by lights, cameras, and cheers. But now, I'm choosing something quieter, something real. And that's what I'll be revealing soon. I remember talking to my parents about the wedding. They were quiet at first. My father smiled, but I could see his eyes glisten. My mother held my hand and said, "You've always followed your heart, Taehyung. Just make sure this time it's something that gives you peace." That sentence stayed with me. Peace. For so long, I thought love had to be loud and dramatic. But now I realize real love is silent. It doesn't need to prove anything. A few nights ago, I stood by my piano at home alone, just playing without thinking. The melody that came out wasn't planned. It felt like my heart was writing a letter. That melody will be played on my wedding day. It's not a song for the stage. It's not for the fans or the charts. It's for the moment I take her hand, look into her eyes, and silently tell her everything I've never said out loud. Some people have been asking who she is, and I know curiosity is natural, but I won't be revealing her name. This wedding isn't about fame. It's not an event, it's not a concept, and it's not meant for the cameras. It's something sacred. I've spent most of my life being seen by the world now. For once, I just want to be seen by one person. That's the shock most people won't understand. The shocking thing isn't who I'm marrying, it's why. I'm marrying her not because she's perfect, but because she sees me when I'm not. She's the first person who looked at me and didn't see V from BTS. She saw Kim Taehyung, the boy who gets nervous before interviews, the one who writes poetry no one reads, the man who still gets scared of being misunderstood. That's the person I want to wake up next to for the rest of my life. You might think, is this really happening? Yes, it's real. Every detail is already in motion. The date has been chosen, the venue is private, and only a handful of people will be there. There won't be flashing lights or reporters waiting outside. It'll be just family, close friends, and music in the background. And maybe that's the most shocking part, that I'm choosing simplicity over spectacle. I know some fans might feel heartbroken, and I understand. I truly do. Because for years, we've shared something beyond words. You've supported me through every high and low, through laughter and tears. That's why I want to say this clearly. This wedding doesn't mean goodbye. It's another chapter. You've been a part of every song I've sung, every stage I've stepped on, and every piece of courage I've ever found. Without you, there wouldn't be this version of me, the one brave enough to love honestly. When I first announced it to the team, there was silence. No one spoke for a few seconds. Then Namjoon Hyung smiled and said, "Do what makes your heart peaceful." Jungkook laughed and said, "Hyung, finally." Jimin hugged me without a word. We've grown up together, so they knew what this meant to me. That moment felt like closure, not an ending, but the beginning of something entirely new. I've written a letter that I'll read during the ceremony. It's short, but it carries everything I've ever wanted to say to her, and maybe to all of you too. It says, "I used to think love was a performance, but now I know it's a whisper. I used to chase perfection, but now I chase peace. And if you're hearing this, it means I found both." Maybe that's the real shock, that the boy who once sang about heartbreak and longing is finally ready for something lasting, something human. And to everyone listening right now, wherever you are, thank you for letting me grow. Thank you for seeing me not just as an idol, but as a person. I don't know what the future will bring, but I know this. Love is not a secret anymore. It's something to be shared, to be lived, and to be believed in. So when that day comes and you see me walking down that quiet aisle, don't cry. Just smile and whisper to yourself, "He finally found his peace." Because that's what this story has always been about. Not fame, not fortune, but finding peace in love. And maybe, just maybe, that's the most shocking thing of all. There's a kind of silence that feels like a song. That's what I imagine my wedding day will sound like. No screaming crowds, no flashing lights, no rehearsed choreography. Just soft laughter, gentle music, and the sound of hearts finally at rest. That's how I want it to be remembered. The world has seen me in every light, on the biggest stages, under the brightest spotlights, through every emotion a camera can capture. But this time, it won't be for the world. It'll be for her and for me. And that's what makes it different. That's what makes it shocking. I used to think happiness had to be earned like a trophy after years of struggle. But now I realize it's not something you win, it's something you build. Brick by brick, moment by moment, choice by choice. The decision to love someone through all seasons, to show them the parts of you that fame never touches, that's real courage. As the wedding day approaches, I find myself looking back at my journey, the long nights in the studio, the flights across oceans, the millions of faces that have smiled because of our music. It's humbling. But among all that noise, I found her. She was like quiet sunlight after a long storm. She didn't ask for my fame. She didn't want my perfection. She just wanted me to be me. Maybe that's the greatest twist of all. That someone like me, who's been watched by the world for years, found his truest self when no one was watching. I've received countless letters from fans, some happy, some emotional, some even pleading for me not to change. But I want you to know something. I'm not leaving you. This isn't an ending. I'm still the same Taehyung who laughs at silly jokes, gets lost in his thoughts, and writes lyrics about feelings he can't describe. The only difference is that now I have someone to share that silence with when the music stops. There's a quote I wrote down a while ago, something that came to me one night when I couldn't sleep. The world claps when you shine, but real love stays when the lights go out. That's the kind of love I've found. That's the kind of love I want to protect. During the ceremony, I'll walk down the aisle with a simple smile. I won't need to say much. She'll already know. There's something unspoken between us, the way our eyes meet, the way our hands fit perfectly. That moment will be my favorite performance, even though it's not a performance at all. The shocking thing about my wedding isn't about drama or surprise guests or hidden messages. It's that for the first time in my life, I'm living for something that can't be broadcasted. I'm living for peace, for truth, for love that doesn't fade when the music ends. After the ceremony, I'll probably take a quiet walk outside, maybe look up at the sky and whisper a small thank you. Thank you to the universe, to my brothers, to my fans, to everyone who believed in me, and to the woman who helped me see what truly matters. When people hear about my wedding, they might say, I didn't expect that. And that's okay, because neither did I. Life is strange like that. It takes you through storms, through noise, through chaos, just to teach you what silence really sounds like. And that silence, that peace, is the most beautiful sound I've ever heard. So when the day comes, don't see it as the end of an era. See it as proof that love, no matter how far away it seems, finds its way always. To my fans, to my brothers, to everyone who has walked beside me, thank you for being my reason, my strength, my home. You are a part of this story too. You're the reason I learned to love fearlessly. This is not goodbye. This is the beginning of something real. And if you're wondering what the shocking thing is that will happen on my wedding day, it's simple. For the first time ever, Taehyung won't be performing. He'll just be living. And that, my friends, is the most beautiful shock of all. As the final moments of this story unfold, I want to take a deep breath with you. Not as an idol, not as a public figure, but simply as Taehyung. It feels strange to speak about something so private in a world that has watched me grow up, but maybe that's exactly why I need to share it. Because for once, this isn't about the spotlight, it's about stepping out of it. In the quiet hours before dawn, I often find myself awake thinking about what life has become. The boy who used to dream under the small roof of his hometown in Daegu has come a long way. I've stood in front of millions, traveled to places I once saw only in dreams, and met people who changed my life forever. Yet now, I'm learning that the most meaningful chapter doesn't happen under bright lights. It happens in stillness, in love, in peace. My wedding day isn't just a celebration, it's a promise not only to the woman I love, but also to myself. A promise that I will live honestly, love deeply, and never lose sight of the simple things that make life beautiful. I used to think my purpose was to perform, to entertain, to create art that moved others. But now I understand that real art is found in how we treat people, in how we cherish moments that don't need applause. When I close my eyes, I can already see that day, the soft fabric of her dress catching the morning light, the scent of flowers in the air, the sound of our family's laughter filling the space. There won't be any cameras, no stage lights, just warmth, just love. And in that moment, I'll know that every struggle, every heartbreak, every sleepless night led me exactly here. Sometimes I still can't believe it's happening. That after all the chaos of fame, I found someone who reminds me of the quiet before music begins. She's calm, grounded, and real. She never asked for anything from me, no fame, no recognition, no promises of forever. She only asked me to be present, to be honest, to be human, and that's what I'll carry with me into marriage. Not perfection, but presence. There's one thing I want to say to everyone who's listening. You've been my home for so long. Through every season, through every change, you've stood beside me, supported me, and loved me even when I couldn't love myself. I owe everything to you, my growth, my courage, my voice, and I hope you can see that this next step in my life isn't me walking away, it's me walking forward. I know there will be tears, questions, even misunderstandings, but I want you to remember something. Love doesn't take away, it adds. My love for her doesn't erase. My love for you, it expands it. Because the version of me you helped build is the same one who now has the strength to love freely. You gave me that. After the ceremony, I'll release something special, a song that's been waiting quietly in my heart. It's not flashy or loud. It's simple, like a letter written with trembling hands. It's a thank you note to everyone who believed in me. The title is Promise of Peace. When you hear it, I hope you'll feel what I felt when I wrote it, that love, real love, is not about possession, it's about understanding, forgiveness, and peace. When the world hears about my wedding, I know headlines will spin, stories will fly, and speculation will run wild. But I'm ready because I finally know who I am. I'm not just the boy who danced on stage or the man behind the camera flash. I'm Kim Taehyung, someone who loves deeply, who gets scared sometimes, who dreams of ordinary happiness. So, when that day comes, when the vows are spoken and the rings are exchanged, I'll take one last look around and smile. Not for the cameras, not for the crowd, but for life itself. Because every part of my journey, every joy, and every tear led me right here. And if you're listening to this, I want you to carry one truth with you no matter how chaotic the world gets, no matter how far your dreams take you, always come back to peace. That's where love lives. That's where life begins again. So here's the shocking thing that will happen on my wedding day. I won't just be marrying her, I'll be marrying the man I've become. The one who's learned, fallen, grown, and finally found peace in his heart. To everyone who's been part of my story, thank you. This isn't a goodbye, it's the continuation of everything we've built together, just in a new light. And when the music fades, when the world goes quiet, know this: somewhere out there under the soft glow of evening lights, I'll be smiling, not as an idol, not as V, but as Taehyung, a man who finally learned what love truly means.